Committee, on behalf of the school superintendents in Kentucky, I do appreciate the invitation to be here. Senator Winter, since you reeled in Reverend Stevenson, I've eliminated several very profound statements. When compiling my thoughts regarding this controversial issue, an issue resulting in a disarray of research findings with no clear evidence that charter schools have a significant impact on student achievement, my question became not whether we need charter schools, but rather, do we in fact need to distract from the present mission of our public schools? That is, to provide a quality education for all children. Some brief thoughts on why I raised that question. My father began teaching in 1934 for $3.50 a day in one room with 65 students, grades 1 through 8. Interestingly, for only 7 months out of the year. I began 48 years ago in Jessamine County, Kentucky, teaching 5 classes of algebra, coaching 4 sports for $3,800. 2 years later, moved to Meade County, where I taught 5 classes of algebra and started a football program for $6,000 and told my wife that I thought our ship had come in. In 19 years in the classroom, I was never once observed. I had one principal who always handed me an evaluation form and told me to fill it out. You can bet I received a very good evaluation. Several of you here on this committee are or have been teachers or school administrators, and I'm sure you have stories also to tell about evaluations. In my early years, we had no substantive professional development. Instructional leadership was occasionally discussed, but almost never practiced. We watched kids fall behind with no interventions. We sent thousands of students with special needs home, eliminated behavioral problems by simply sending them home, or perhaps more accurately, to the streets. We had no kindergarten, and early childhood education had not even been discussed. Gender and racial discrimination was rampant, and we routinely beat kids with boards for transgressions such as chewing gum or not standing in a straight line. Our educational system was literally survival of the fittest. I'm now beginning my 48th year of involvement in public education. All the problems I have just mentioned are now being addressed. We continuously look for new and innovative ways to educate our children. When I reflect on the almost unbelievable progress made since I began, and especially in the last 2 decades, by public schools in Kentucky, arguably as much or more than any state in the country, it is disappointing to me to hear so much talk about possible charter school legislation, especially when there is so much conflicting data regarding charters. The superintendents in Kentucky are 70% opposed to charter schools, with the other 30% favoring, I think mostly because of race to the top issues. Rather than spend time questioning the value of charter schools, which I could do and already has been done, and I recognize it's possible to make a case for charters. Rather, I want to spend a couple of minutes hopefully making the case that legislative and financial support of quality public schools is a better educational direction. While there is little doubt that we have many schools in need of improvement, the idea that all of our educational woes are a result of underperforming schools and inadequate instruction is a gross oversimplification. While deliberating this issue, please consider what Kentucky's public schools are being asked to do. We're not just responsible for the regular education of our kids. We're also responsible for health and nutrition, character education, alternate education, gifted education, special education, bilingual education, vocational education, early childhood education. We transport tens of thousands of kids a day. We serve more than 10 million meals a year. We offer every sport imaginable and offer counseling from everything about where to attend college to what to do about an abusive boyfriend. Among our some 650,000 public school students, we have 15,000 identified as limited English proficient. speaking some 60 different languages, well over 100,000 identified as exceptional children, significant numbers of children who are latchkey, suffer from fetal alcohol syndrome, or are crack babies. Many come from foster or institutional care. A surprisingly high number of our students live with a single mother who didn't graduate from high school. 55%, or more than 350,000, are eligible for free or reduced lunch. And perhaps the most alarming, as many as 140,000 of our children are living below poverty level. And virtually all of them are enrolled in our public schools. It was once considered a given that a child's character was shaped at home and brought to school like a pencil box or a clean notebook. But just like today's children come without sharpened pencils, they often come without control of their emotions and impulses, often hungry, improperly clothed. These boys impedes academic progress more than any school supplies, and certainly does not suggest that we should abandon our present course. It is preposterous to think that the math or writing skills of a child in need of food and clothing are not affected by their home environment. As a side note, in spite of the efforts of NCLB, a flawed evaluation system that stresses the importance of high-stakes testing, as recently as May, the Department of Education found that the percent of high-poverty schools rose from 12 to 17%. All right. I guess that was a technical foul or timeout?
No, that was a sign to sum up if you have a summary on it.
Can I make one last statement? My opinion, it is amazing how successful public education is when you consider what we are asked to do. Our critics should be careful in judging school performance until they fully understand what we're asked to do and the resources with which you're asked to do it. Thank you, Senator Leonard.
Thank you. Thank you.